Um, One of the things I used to do is be very charming, to wiggle myself out of these situations by smiling and making comments which were favorable for the client at that point of time. Not necessarily lying, um, but with a mind that kind of accepted for a little while that this guy might be an idiot in my eyes, but he is doing much more business than I am, and he understands his business better than I do because he is the guy who's got the money. I'm the guy who has a job. So there was a certain aspect because we are also talking about the values workshop. I do not want to give an indication that you fib your way through things, but for a little while, you really have to believe that reality that the client is giving you. Um, because he is not there by chance. My personal understanding is there is no success by chance. There is some good, there is some understanding, there is some genuine hard work that has gone behind the scenes, which may not agree with your point of view about the world. That guy must have um, be a typical Bania guy, perhaps, of the way he ran his business. But his understanding of accounts, his understanding of how an office should be set up or administered, how his business should be run, is certainly better than
You
yours.
mean Dhanda?
Dhanda, yeah.
You mean how is Dhanda runs? Very
And the
different from
respect. Because the problem being,
absolutely.
problem is because as English speaking guys, I realized we had this chip on our shoulder that we understood thought things better than them. And very early in my career, I was corrected. One of the ads that sold a lot was a Hindi to English ad that I had to translate, which was about 20 quintals of rice were available in certain storehouse or go down or something like that. And that landed up making so much money that guy called me, gave me the freelance money. And then he told me that one little piddly ad sold that thing and he thought I was a brilliant writer because of that. And I was shocked because I had done nothing.
But you are, yeah,
but that time I didn't know. So I am saying a sense of goodness, a sense of honesty, a sense of dedication, certain value systems held me in good stead. Would you want to talk a little about how your experiences about these things were for you? When I use the word charm,
I believe in giving the devil his due here.
No, not only that.
You have to give the devil his due. So if you're meeting somebody, you have to, like, at least for me, I don't go with, yes, of course, we've all coming from a certain industry. Like you said, we come with a certain chip on our shoulder, right? But I, maybe through time and experience, and maybe from the place that I came from, where I don't know is very open for me. I'm very, I respect where that person is at. Right. And I respect the fact that, yes, he has achieved quite, for him to be there, he has achieved certain things. And even though he cannot probably express himself or say it in the words that we'd like to hear, this man knows his stuff, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, so it's probably just giving the devil his due to say that, boss, yes, you know your stuff. Now it is up to us to translate it in a way that
people
brings a certain amount of perspective, or maybe elitist.
Yeah, creative point of view.
Or fine tune it or whatever. But understanding where he's coming from is purely giving him his due credit.
Okay.
And I don't think I come with a superiority complex, especially where that is concerned. Maybe at some point in my life, I guess everybody at some point in their life have that superiority complex. Yeah. And we do go through certain things in life which, break us down, saying, buddy, listen.
So I want a story if possible, because one of the words that was running in my head when you were explaining this was a sense of humility is important. You cannot think that you are the be all and end all of the brand or whatever work that you're doing. So and you also used a contrarian term in superiority complex, but we were both talking about this and thinking about the same thing. Would you have a story where you actually realized that you had gone, you were wrong about something, and specifically a professional situation, because we are at least I've been very cocky about that part very often.
Uh, I guess there are so many that have happened that it's very hard to, pinpoint one. And just being probably aware of the fact that there is always somebody who probably knows more than you,
Hmm.
is important, that it automatically brings that certain humility in you. It simply, maybe, in the beginning of my career where I thought that, back then we used to do these AVs for pitches and all of that.
Yeah.
And this was my first year in McCann.
Hmm.
And I thought I'd cut this brilliant edit, right? With the right shots and all of that. And I
Hmm.
showed to my boss, and he had no idea I had sat on the edit. And he was like, I'm okay to use language which is not really,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know,
preferably
he
not.
was like, yeah, kis beep ne banaye ye edit?
Ah.
And I was like, why? What do you think is wrong? And he's like, there's no story, there's no continuity, there's no, where's the ins, where's the outs? And he trashed the edit. Like completely trashed it. I sat overnight, we reworked the edit. In fact, I got a different editor who was senior, who had a better sense of how an edit works. But for me, I think that was like a big learning experience when he said, kis beep ne banaya hai ye. And that kind of hit me hard.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
even where writing was concerned, it took me a very long time to understand a certain aspect of writing when you're writing long format, right? The graph that one needs to follow.
yeah.
And the person who was like, I don't understand how you're not able to get the graph. It's so simple. And he kept trying to explain it to me till one day I showed him a film that I directed, and he's like, this is a perfect graph. I said, oh, this is what you want, and this is what you're talking about. And he was like, yeah, this is exactly it. And that's the time it struck, So I don't go in saying that, oh, the first crack is going to be at it. Like, it's going to be the thing. And the first crack is going to be the masterpiece and all of that. It's a learning process. Because when you're called a beep, very early in your career, that humility sets in, I feel.
Yeah. I think this reminds me of one episode that had happened where I used to actually work with a very small agency, which was very design-led kind of thing. And those guys, almost nobody in that agency spoke English properly, and they looked up to me. They were very nice to me. In fact, they looked up to me mainly because I was the only one who could speak in English and convince the client and things like that. But over a period, like you said, it's never one thing. But every time I sat with that boss of that agency, and he kept cracking such wonderful ideas, which was completely from a design point of view. And before that, I had not worked with a pure design guy, like somebody who was good at it. And when I saw that, and I was like, hey, it opened a new world for me. And the interaction became far more one of that, like those equals, rather than me coming from my high horse and saying I knew the ideas. Because just the whole idea, he would do some crazy things, and he was very good with these 3D mailer ideas. So he would say, let us create an egg and we do this, and I'm thinking this guy can't speak to save his life. But when he gives that idea, and you know that if this mailer comes to anybody who's sitting in his office, suddenly an egg or some such thing, an instrument, or suddenly you're relooking at the whole industry itself in a new manner. And at that point of time, you start thinking, you need to relook at things, because language is just one more medium of expression. It's not the be all and end all of communication.
Right.
And I think um, that kind of drills in humility like nothing does, because before that, you've been walking thinking that I am the one who can decide. And suddenly, this guy is not even trying to put you down. He's just doing his job and he's just doing it wonderfully well. I remember generally I don't like to put in artistic things into the conversation because it goes a little off track. But in one of Paulo Coelho's novels, I think The Witch of Portobello, that lady goes to learn calligraphy. And the calligrapher tells her that the most important thing in learning calligraphy is what comes in between alphabets, the space. And I was mesmerized because it suddenly opened up a huge amount of respect for one's own work and the people and the spaces that we get. So my question to you, as a creative person, uh, being a creative person is has been very often spoken of as uh, something that is fear-inducing, uh, like the
I didn't get
artist
that. Sorry.
fear-inducing. They
Fear in losing,
inducing,
inducing, inducing.
fear-inducing. They keep on talking about the fear of the blank canvas, of the blank sheet, and uh, personally have whenever you begin a project, whenever other things that you do, where your creative ideas are required, and suppose you are unable to create the idea or the mood that you want for your whatever your creative output. How do you deal with that? What is your process in terms of handling that fear of because we live in a deadline oriented industry. It's even more difficult sometimes because they are non-negotiable sometimes, genuinely so. So how do you tackle that fear? How do you come out of it? Do you deliver? Do you give up? What do you do?
Oh, we worked in advertising, right? And deadlines are deadlines. I don't think we had the time to even think about our fear. Like, so there was no concept of will I be able to deliver? Will I not be able to deliver? You had to deliver, and I think you just figure things out when you have to deliver. I think deadlines actually push you uh, to productivity. Now, every idea I don't believe can be an award-winning idea. Some ideas need to be functional and work, right? And there was one of my bosses who told me, he's like, sorry, she actually was like, you have to know when you have to stop kalakari and get down to delivery.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that also kind of, I was like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Everything does not need perfection, maybe. And maybe being artists, right? We look for that finest detail in perfection, and delivery nahi hota hai. You know, your delivery suffers. And at the end of the day, it's all about delivering the project at the right time, within the right budgets. And that's actually what makes the client happy. He's not going to miss a red, the little red in the corner. He's probably not going to miss it, but it's in your mind.
Yeah, this is very beautiful. This reminds me of a story that I read about a monk who used to stay in a monastery in Australia. And one day they had to do their jobs themselves. They were not a settled community there, and they were not, Buddhists were not very common in Australia. So almost all the building and everything, they had to do it themselves. So once they had to build this fancy, the fencing, the wall that used to be the fence. So he built it and he went for perfection in each and every brick that he laid, the layout, everything. And all of it happened, and in I think the 99th or the 100th brick or something went wrong there. And every time he saw the wall, he was reminded that he didn't do that perfectly. And everyone who came there kept praising what a wonderful job, what a wonderful job. One day he got very frustrated and it says, that can't you see that 100th brick is not in place properly? So the guy said, yes, I can see that. So, but I can also see the other 99 bricks are all right. I think that is a good perspective to have.